Well, the Biden administration forgiving $4.5 billion in student debt for public service workers, impacting positively over 60,000 borrowers. To discuss the impact of this latest round of student loan relief, we have James Quall, who is the U.S. Department of Education Undersecretary. Great to have you here with us, and thanks for taking the time here, Undersecretary. First and foremost here, when you think about the number of people that are saddled with student debt and have just been trying to crack into so much of that, what type of dent does this make on the overall basis, and where in efforts that have stalled are you trying to get the wheels turning again?
Yeah, you're right. There's not only 40 million people who have student loan debt, but it's a problem for their families, for their communities. And one of the impacts that student loans have is that it makes it more difficult for people to go into public service because they take out the same amount of loans, but they have to accept a lower salary. So that's why it's such an exciting day here as President Biden has announced that we've now forgiven the loans of more than 1 million public servants who have been working in public service for 10 years and making payments on their loans.
Is this something that you believe could be replicated in the future for those who aren't currently working in public service, but actively taking on, perhaps in college or attaining a degree right now and want to work in public service, but ultimately are looking at this tranche go through and saying, well, that's not going to apply to me because I don't currently have the job right now?
Yeah, we've worked really hard to make improvements to this program permanently. So, prior to this administration, the number of public servants getting help was negligible because of all the red tape and bureaucracy. But we put in place new rules that make it simpler and fairer. We've changed how we administer the program. And we want to make sure that student debt doesn't stand in the way when young people want to become a teacher or a nurse or a first responder. We have to make it possible for people to give back.
Now, some of the debt forgiveness efforts are hung up in courts right now and just kind of hot potatoed from one court to another. Where are you continuing to make efforts to kind of, through the appellate process, move through and ultimately try to see still some sort of remediation for those who would apply or fall under those programs?
Yeah, so we're moving forward on all fronts here. In addition to public servants, we've identified another almost 4 million borrowers for relief because they have disabilities, they were cheated by a for-profit college. So we encourage everyone to come to studentaid.gov and take a look if any of these programs benefit you. The president has proposed other ideas that we believe would help borrowers that we have the authority to do. And some of those actions have been challenged by Republican elected officials. We're going to continue to fight in courts to bring relief because this really is an issue, not just for people with student loans, but for the whole country.
How likely is it that some of those efforts would make it through prior to the election in November?
Well, we're not really driven by the election timeline. We're going to keep moving as fast as we can to help as many people as we can.
And for making sure that it's possible as well, how much of this would need to go through Congress? Because that is seen as another roadblock that could be potential as well.
Well, no, these are things that have already passed Congress. So we can only act when Congress gives us authority. But they have given us authority to help borrowers who are public servants, who are disabled, who are experiencing hardship. And so we want to make the most of that authority and help as many people as we can.
And just lastly, while we have you here, with regard to what this means in terms of the anticipations as to where the lifting of the debt burden might facilitate even more of the economic opportunity, where does the department really see this flowing into and other areas of the economy that this could benefit?
Yeah, some people say, it's not my problem. They chose to take out the loan. But the reality is for these 40 million people, it's not just an economic weight for them. It's for their families. It makes it harder to buy a home, to start a business, to go into a public service job. So it's really a problem for all of us and something that we all need to help fix is the student debt crisis.
For a lot of those people, the costs might have changed quite considerably between the time that they went to college and when their kids were thinking about it, because the pitch for the same school for me, I know, was about $30,000 delta between when my parents went there as well.
That's
James
true.
Quall, who is the U.S. Department of Education Undersecretary, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.